Welcome to God's Way, YTVY. I'm Adolphina Shephard, host. This is my co-host here, Thomas Knights Templar.
Good evening, welcome to the show.
As usual, we have some fabulous guests, and we have a special treat for you tonight because you're going to hear up-to-date news from Mother Mary and ISIS. So I'm very excited about hearing this from our guest, Carey and Angelo
Rusciano.
Mm-hmm. I want to make sure I get that right.
I figured you get it.
Yeah.
It's like rigatoni.
I mean, you know, the Italians. I've had 2 Italian husbands.
Right.
So I know that a little bit. So I guess we should start with, maybe we'll ask Ellen to tell us a little bit about herself.
Well, my name is Ellen, and I am from outside of West Philadelphia, Delaware County, Pennsylvania. And through my own work on self-healing and from years of study, I've kind of undergone a transformation, and I would say in the last 4 years, really a deep transformation. Oh. And through my own self-healing and study, I've been able to connect with the divine feminine and in the aspect of the goddess Isis, the Egyptian goddess Isis. And it's been wonderful. So I do work as a healer and a channel, and it's just really been amazing. And I've met such lovely people. I've met Adolphina at a show, I've met Angelo, and I'm so happy to meet you tonight. And that's a little bit about me.
Well, that's great. You know, I think that what happens as we work on ourselves and we transform ourselves, we open up those channels. And you know, one of the things too is I think that it depends on how much work you've done in a prior life, how quickly you become a channel. You know, because some people will take a little bit of time, maybe a couple of years to have their psychic body fixed and their etheric body, and then they start channeling. But some people are right out of the gate, and they're the folks who have done it in prior lifetimes. So when it turns on like that, right?
Sure.
I bet you know.
Yeah.
All right, so
Seems
now
like
let's switch over to Angelo. And Angelo, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Primarily, I'm a fine artist. I work with painting and drawing, and I'm a trained architect. I work in that industry a little bit, but as of my whole life, I've been hearing from Mother Mary, actually. So, but just really within the last year, I've been getting full messages, and that you cannot deny. So, since about April of 2014, I've been sharing some of the words I've been hearing. And it's led me to this show, which to me, being here right now, as I'm here in this moment, I can feel transformed. A lot of transformation has been happening, and I feel them as the moment happens. So I guess you can say I'm intuitive from that point of view. Sometimes I give personal, sit-downs with people, and I let messages come in right for them.
Yeah.
Kind of like Long Island Medium would, for not the same way, not like mediumship, but more like messages that come in, and I just share.
I understand because I'm an intuitive myself, but I've always been working a different way. When people ask me questions, the Holy Spirit speaks through me. So they have to ask me the question for the most part, unless I ask specific questions and say, you know, what's going on with that person or what's going on with this. Right. Whereas I know other people who are intuitive, their guides and angels are chattering in their ear, you know, every 2 minutes, you know, so it makes a big difference. But that's one of your pictures there, huh, of Mother Mary?
It's what I'm working on right now.
Very nice.
Thought to bring it more updated, what I'm doing.
Is that going by what you feel or what you've seen?
You know, interesting thing about Mother Mary is she appears so many different ways. You can hear about apparitions where she's appeared in Mexico looking Mexican. She appears, you know, looking ethnically according to the culture that she's had apparitions with. So, but when I've seen her, when I have visions of her, she typically comes from the girl from Israel. So she likes to come to me that way, like she's a regular girl too. So interestingly, I'm trying to capture that the best I can by pulling it out of space, you know?
Yeah, I kind of see that in her face.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
When you know, I've seen, and it makes sense that she would appear in different cultures under different ways because she wants to communicate with those people and those cultures.
And a message specifically for them.
Right, right, right. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the divine feminine, which we got two of the divine female queens of heaven here tonight. So we're going to let them speak through our channels and anything else that Thomas and I might get. So we'll see. But now, you mentioned architect. You were talking about your designing a 3-story building for Mother Mary, a Lotus building or something to this effect.
A Lotus building?
Yeah, it was a calling, something I've always wanted to do. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
Lotus temple,
Okay.
in fact. But, you know, it was a shaman that I'm very close with, who's a teacher of mine, who channels as well, who kept talking to me about, you know, we must have something, according to him, called a movement called Tamawakan, which is, according to the sacred feminine, a monument, an aspect of it that people can be a people. That's what he talked about. And he mentioned that I'm going to design this. So I look at him for about 6 months telling me this, going, wait a minute, you know, what does he mean? So in telling me that I'll design this monument, I just eventually sat at my drafting table, started to come up with something, and this is what I came up with. It was just pulling from spirit. And it was a design that symbolizes the feminine and the masculine and this new era, a monument, but a building. A place of spirituality, not necessarily a purpose, a cultural center, and a spiritual meditation spot.
Well, you know, and the lotus is appropriate, but you know, I would think that that's more often associated with Kuan Yin, another queen of heaven, you might say. But I mean, all of the saints had the lotus, because the lotus is associated with your crown chakra opening and the petals. And so this is where they get the idea of the lotus, because that's the prize.
up.
Yeah, when you see pictures of the saints, you know, you see them with the halos. Really what that is when your crown chakra opens up, the lotus opens up, as they call it, and the light pours through and creates a halo.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know if too many people know that, but that's how it actually is. And not everybody has their crown chakra open, because it starts at the bottom, opening up. But at this point in time, since 2012, I think people are moving up, you know, more. And that's probably why in the past year you've been channeling more, because the veils
There's a
are
shift.
thinner, and the same with you too, because 2012 we did have a giant shift, and the veils became much thinner, so they could communicate with us better.
Yes.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me there. And so now let's see, how long have you been channeling? A couple of years, right?
Yes.
And it's very powerful, Isis's message through Ellen. And I love the way she does it, because she does a written thing. So you get to take it home and you can reread it over and over.
Oh, look at what you said.
Yeah, because when people channel, unless they give you a tape, which of course that's very good too, but it's nice to be able to say, oh, I got to read that again, you know? So I like that very much.
Thank you. For me, what happened was I became a Reiki master, which is channeling, and then I took a course called The Path to Heal, which takes a year to become certified Path to Heal practitioner. And 6 months in, I began to channel Isis in the class. And I have an aunt who is a psychic medium who gets her work through automatic writing. So when the thoughts came in, because it's claircognizance for me, the thoughts just come in, and I feel a pressure on the right side where like Bina is, your Sephira here. I just picked up a pen and started to write. And so that's an easy way for me to do it.
Yeah.
It comes through.
You
quite
know, I
quickly.
think that's easy to do for everybody. In fact, one of these days I want to do a series of psychic classes and do the automatic writing, do scrying, do just asking and getting, you know, because sometimes people have these gifts, but they just think it's normal, because everybody has a seed, and then it's just a question of how you make it
Develop 'em.
grow and develop it. And so the more you use it, the more it appears, you know, it's like a muscle.
Yes, and I do like a channeling mentorship, and so just like everyone else, you know, we have our senses, and then we have our subtle senses. It will come through differently. As you were speaking to Angelo earlier about taste and smell, then there's thought. You can have it as a feeling or an emotion. There's a lot of ways to have
Vibration.
this information and vibration come to you, and then some people see things, and then they need to know how to interpret the symbolism for themselves.
So you're saying through your Reiki work and the workshop that you were in, that's when Isis was able to channel through you.
I
Did you recognize that?
Well,
when that
what happened was through the Reiki healing, I worked for a full year on forgiveness.
Okay.
I had gone through personal struggles, and then working through forgiveness for a year, I had a vision on my Reiki master's table, and I saw what would be like a big Asian style, like almost like a Buddha statue on the Reiki. Well, I'm laying on the Reiki table. You're in a very meditative, relaxed state. If you've never had Reiki, it's amazing. I say, go do it. So I'm, you know, in that meditative state, and in my mind, I see this big statue, and it tells me that I'm supposed to do multidimensional healing work, and it mentions Hawaiian modalities. At the time, I had no idea what that meant. And so shortly after, I went to a belly dancing class, very Middle Eastern, to be supportive of some of the other women who had gone through the Reiki mastership with me. And I found out that belly dancing is really hard, and I wanted to sit it out. my hips were getting tired. So I went and sat down next to another woman, and she said to me, she pulled out a business card, and she said, I'm a nutritionist, and I do multidimensional healing work. And ding, 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 the light bulb went off.
You know what they say.
So I went and became her client. And then she opened up this book, which was The Path to Heal. Long story short, I'm like, I've got to learn this. So then 6 months into learning The Path to Heal, all of a sudden, I'm getting this message. And I had come up in a family where I had experienced my aunt doing this, so it wasn't so far out of my
far-fetched.
understanding. So I picked up a pen, and it was a beautiful message for the group. And since then, it's been coming in stronger and stronger.
Yeah, that's fabulous. You know, I remember I went to a psychic class one time, and there was about 20 psychics in the room. Well, I arrived a little late, and I'm walking in, and everybody turned around and looked. Well, at the break, about 5 psychics came up to me, and they said, we saw you as you were walking in. We got images of you. You were an emperor in the 11th century, and you had this big sword. You didn't live long because you were a warrior. But my colors were gold and red, and sure enough, they are a couple of my favorite colors. And so that was really interesting to me. But for me, it wasn't really quite like that. My experience with being intuitive. I always kind of knew stuff, but it wasn't until my psychic body was repaired that I could suddenly start hearing. And, you know, and people think, you know, you get something and it's like watching it on TV, but really, don't you find it's more of a quick flash and you got to pay attention and you see what you're going to see? Don't you think so?
Well,
Mine's different. I don't really get it like a quick flash. How about you, Angelo? I'll let you speak
It's
a little.
different, but sometimes it's a lot of information in one pinpoint of a second. Other times it seems like it's streaming. I guess it's, you know, there's such a
varies.
complex difference between the spirit world and what we're used to. It's so
Sometimes I feel like I'm interpreting a thought, like the energy comes in and I feel like I'm translating it. And I have to stop and ask, am I getting this right? Other times it's just right, and it's all right there. Other times I can, especially if they're talking about past life stuff, I can see a picture like a movie in my head.
That's
for me.
neat.
But
That's me.
yeah, but I do
When people
know.
tell me their story, I see it as they're telling me. Then I ask them questions about it. And they say, how did you know that? Well, it's like video, you know?
Yeah, but other times it's just like flashes, like I'll see flashes of blue light. And then sometimes people will ask me a question and I won't know, and then 2 days later, bam, it's just there for you,
know,
right?
Yeah.
In the ISIS energies that you receive, she predates the existence of the actual world. You know, the father energy and the mother energy. You know, most people equate the Blessed Mother as the Divine Feminine, but she was human,
Right.
and the Divine Feminine is spirit. So, I mean, how does that work?
Well, the way I understand it for myself, the way I look at it is everything is energy. So if everything is energy and it never dies and it never goes away.
It just transforms.
Right. So
Never dies.
So you have the energy and it comes through. So if you look at, for example, and I don't want to get too complicated here, but if you look at the Tree of Life, which is from Jewish mysticism,
Kabbalah.
from the Kabbalah. You have Hokmah on one side, the left side, and Bina on the other. And here is Dot. And so for Egyptian mysticism, if you go through Dot, you get to Isis, which is the universe being birthed. So all the stars coming through, all of creation happening. So for me, what Isis is, and what Mother Mary is, and what Kuan Yin is, what this divine feminine energy is the feminine aspect of creation. And so this is the feminine aspect of all. If you want to call it God, it's that energy. And it's all the things that are feminine. So it's warrior nature, it's creativity.
It's both, it's male, female.
It's power, and it's within all of us.
You think that the reason why the Egyptians were so like advanced was because they were able to tap into Isis?
Yes.
Well, I
so
think she was born too. She
Well,
was physical at one point.
There's many stories and mythologies around it. But what the mystics of the time would explain, because all of these stories are ways of us understanding ideas and concepts that are so large. So you will find Isis's story, for example, I was telling you earlier, in medieval times, there's the Black Madonna as Isis.
Right.
Artistically, you see Isis and Mary together. You'll see pictures of Isis holding Horus, which are exactly the same pictures of Mary holding Jesus. And then you'll see sculptures in Asia of
You're talking about
Mary
Horus,
and Kuan Yin.
the Egyptian god.
The Egyptian god Horus.
Okay.
And the story of Isis and Horus and Osiris are stories that are very similar to Christian mythology and Jewish mythology as well.
There's actually like 5 different cultures throughout history, which I don't remember them all right now, but I knew that Isis and Osiris and Horus was the myth of the Christ, the Father, and the Mother. So now then comes along Mother Mary later, and a lot of people were heartbroken to see, well, what happened to Isis? But then they thought that it segued into Mother Mary. But when I ask if that's so, it's not the same being, or it's not the same aspect. But, what do you think?
That's what I was going to ask
Yeah.
you.
Mother Mary, well, again, she was human. She came here for a plan. I know that from what I know, is her bigger picture happened from her assumption from then on, when she then became the role in the universe as Queen of the Universe, as overseer of the earth, as Mother Earth. And at the time when she was here was her grounding, to let us know that the mother energy, the Isis energy, is human being too. So maybe that's what was needed at the time, that she needed to come in to say that it is everybody, it is us. We are like her. We do things. We're regular people. Like she wasn't regular, but she was regular, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, that aspect of it made it maybe closer to us when we have our connection, because when we think of spirit, it seems so far away.
Well, so with Egyptian mythology, it connects with exactly what you're saying, because Isis was a mother, Isis was a widow, Isis brought, and Isis was mischievous. I mean, she wasn't like just direct.
Isis,
she
you little vixen, you.
She tricked Ra. She tricked the sun god. She tricked the older sun god into giving up his name so that she would then have his power, because as we all know, there is power in our name. And through that, she was able to bring to mankind magic, the knowledge of magic, the knowledge of healing. She was very close to women and supportive of women in her temples, and she's funny too. She'll say things like, she'll say things like, I can show you how to live with men, but men are not women.
I know, that's the truth. Well, I'll never forget.
Yikes, I feel the flames burning now.
Do you think?
Oh boy.
Also there was the same thing, that Jesus was a virgin birth, and so was Horus. I mean, the myth is the same. And there were 3 other cultures I remember reading about, but it escapes me right now. But, I don't know if you're aware of this, or if, I know Tommy knows it, but YTVY is the letter of the mothers. Now that symbol is a Jewish fire letter and is the missing 23rd letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, when that went away, at one time the 23rd letter was there, and supposedly it was during the worshiping of the calf and the horrors that were in that time frame that that letter disappeared, never to return, until the healing of the earth could begin. Now, I got that letter about 12 years ago.
Wow.
And there's the symbol of it right there in the corner of my book there.
It looks like a DNA helix.
And so,
Do you remember the picture in the cloud?
yeah, yes.
Tell them about that one.
So, it's very appropriate. We're discussing the divine feminine here. Now, so what do you think the age of the sacred feminine is?
Well, let's just understand first that it's upon us, that we're here in it.
Yep.
It's an age, well, the calendar, so to speak, would be when 2012 turned over in December. We think the Mayan calendar ended. It's actually the Aztec sunstone. It finished what they call the Olin phase, which was 26,000 years of masculine, divine masculine, which was, you notice, war and domination, as we notice it in the threads of everything almost. So now that we step into this age, we can look at technology, for instance, and say, why is it shrinking so much? Our thoughts are becoming more prevalent than the brawn, the masculine side of our lives. So the sacred feminine also is to balance out that 26,000 years of ruckus, of war, of tyranny. Now it's time for an age of peace. But, we're only in the third year, right? So 2012. So we've just begun. We have a long ways to go. So we have to allow it to develop.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things to think about with this. First of all, the goddess was worshipped in the beginning of time. And then they didn't do it right, okay? So then the patriarchs took over, the men. They certainly aren't doing it right. And now it's time for the balance of the male, the female. And that has
Look,
to...
you got this water here to put out the flames. What's the matter with you?
So we got the male and the female. Everybody has a yin and a yang. I mean, and it's proved by your chromosomes. Everybody
Sure
has
is.
an equal amount of male chromosomes and an equal amount of female chromosomes. And then you have one odd chromosome that determines if you're a male or a female. So it's not that you're a woman and it's the divine feminine. It's every one of us
Every one of
embody, if we're balanced in our yin yang, in the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And
So-
that will
so-
bring oneness.
So, Angelo, what you're saying is that the divine feminine energy now is upon us, and we're going to go through a period of peace? Because I've been getting 10,000 years of peace.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it again, because when you turn on, the news. And
Could it possibly be that the Mayan calendar, it's not a calendar that ends, it's a perpetual calendar,
Certainly.
and it's going on now for the next seventh something or other. I forgot what they called it. It's
The seventh age?
Well, it's
The
the
seventh
sixth
age,
sun.
that's it.
It's the
Yeah.
sixth sun. When you look at the, here it is here. There's 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the sunstone, and in the middle is the 5th.
Can you get that close?
So if you can't, that's fine. So the
Yeah,
5th
it's
is this
tiny.
sun. So we've had the 4 ages and the 5th age. This was the age of Olin. And if you look at why the face is what it is, I've learned that it's actually the eyes and the way the mouth is set up looks like an Olin, like a bow.
Right.
And if you look at Mother Mary and Our Lady Guadalupe, I didn't bring my painting here. Maybe I'll have it on next time.
Yeah, the next
She
time.
has this sash that has an Olin phase.
I
You
got
see,
married
she's-
in that church,
What's that?
Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Nice.
And the funny part about it is that when my wife was walking down the aisle and I was up on the altar,
Yes.
the doors were open to the street, and they were doing some kind of procession with the Blessed Mother.
Beautiful.
And she turned right. There's a picture in my album where you see the statue facing the church, and the doors are open.
Wow.
And I'm on the altar, waiting for the inevitable. So
And you're
the
still
rest
with
is
her, right?
history. 35 years later. Hi, hon. I'm being good.
Well, Ellen and Angelo brought us an up-to-date message, and I was thinking maybe we could share those now so that we could talk about that as we go along, because already the show's almost half over.
Oh.
So you want to go first, and then
Sure.
we'll segue back
I'm
over
gonna
here to Angelo?
take off my glasses so I can read this. So I had channeled this earlier. Adolphina had asked me to, so I'll just read it. Dear ones, Now is the time of awakening of the aspect of all known as the divine feminine. The infinite has birthed being through the vibration of feminine essence. The one exists in the space of expression of being. For your present conscious awareness, think of the universe expanding and contracting as the light of stars shines and your eyes behold the past. The essence of this light is your DNA. This energy is you, and your light expands and contracts ever inward and outward. What do I say of this birthing, of this living, this being? Open your awareness to the responsibility you hold as bearers of light. The loving, supportive, and transforming energy of the all will align with your essence as you engage a higher vibration. As you call, you answer, and that you is capital Y. Nothing changes. There is no change. Everything is living, birthing, living, dying, rebirth, all illusions, all stories, all pieces of thought, mere gossamer, strands and strands of belief, a shift of focus, and we are infinite. Yet we live and are part of a mind, body, soul that is one, capital O. The soul is body, the body is of mind, the mind knows itself, capital I. Circle upon circle, spiral upon spiral. As a collective conscious choice, you have embraced the divine masculine and not balanced the act of lifting up the mother. You have let the mother be as naught and reaped a history of imbalance. Now the earth herself has shaken her burial off. She has taken off the mantle of mourning and aligned with herself on all dimensions. This is the age of the divine feminine, the balance of Hokmah and Bina. Balance these aspects of the all reveal what has been hidden. Dot, seen revealed, the portals opened, the paths aligned. Now is the moment to walk forward and embrace the divine feminine within and without. Call on this aspect of self and take the charge of healer, warrior, creator, protector. Within this aspect, you are charged with creating peace, healing the self, caring for all. This includes yourself, your family of all, your planet, your past, present, and future. For even as you dwell in the illusion of existence, you can shift your focus to the infinite. You have the light within and without to take up your charge. You must rise to this higher vibration, for you are and it is done. So do the work you perceive with joy, love, and song. Celebrate being and give fully to be what it is you pray for. Be. For God, Goddess, one, all infinite, is an action, is a movement, is a force, is you. Blessings of inspiration, Isis.
Lovely.
Wow.
That was
Can
we
great.
just say amen
Love
after
that.
that? That was
Yeah,
amazing.
that was good.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh boy.
She's something else.
Oh, I know. I know. That was a big mouthful.
I'm sure it probably was longer. This is the synopsis. You know.
Oh, it was
Certainly.
longer? Was it longer? And
No,
that was
no,
the
that's
synopsis?
the one. That's the one.
Oh boy. Whew. So I gotta let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's a lot to swallow.
I know. Anybody have any questions on that before we go on to Angelo's message?
I just want to first say that I noticed how aligned the messages, and you were saying that last time, and you came up to Pebble Hill Church, and you were saying how aligned the messages are, and now this is, I mean, amazing. Different, but the same, you know,
Same
parallel
gist.
hermetic and understanding. And I find it fascinating. You
Me
hear the
too.
words coming out. It's like I'm hearing from Mary, it's coming from Isis. It's
That's
coming
what-
from the Egyptian side, but it's the
That's
same.
how I
way,
felt
you know.
when. That's how I felt. I saw Angelo, and I was so moved when I saw him channel at that church, and when he spoke, when I sat there and I listened to the message, it was as if I was hearing what I hear, and so I went up to him afterwards, and I just had to
When you were
introduce
reading
myself.
the message, were you feeling her?
Yes, I do. She has a very strong presence. She can be funny, but she has a very strong, powerful presence because she is like,
Half the universe.
yeah. So she demands a certain amount of respect, and she demands a certain amount of action on the part. It's kind and loving, but it's like your mother saying, come on now, it's time.
But with the divine, what can we say? With the divine feminine coming now, what happens to the old
Well, I think,
male energy?
well, it's not that, you know, this is nothing that is anti-male. Let's first say that first off. This is very loving towards men, because men are part of this as well. Men have the divine feminine within. Every woman is the face of the divine feminine, and every man has the power within. So what this means is, for me, is that the patriarchal energy of this past we're talking about is already crumbling. And you know, even though you see these fearful things on television, for example, when people started to use the term ISIS to talk about these terrorists,
Right.
and they
That
don't
was
even
terrible.
they don't even define themselves as ISIS, but the Western media chose that name.
Yeah.
So people were coming up to me and saying, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop channeling ISIS? And I said, no. And then I said, ISIS, what do you think about this? And ISIS
Did it
said,
occur to you that the Western media took that up because they work for the other side?
no, this is what ISIS said.
What she said.
ISIS said that her energy is so prevalent and that the divine feminine is reaching out to everyone, so that is the choice. And every time they use her name, they call on the energy. So what they're doing is they're dismantling the war itself with the calling to call out to the divine feminine.
How about
And she
that?
said, no, publicity is bad publicity.
You know,
Sounds like a
just,
modern day thing.
Sounds like
you know, just as being,
Pop
just as you,
music.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would be an Ellen interpretation of the energy.
Oh my.
You know, just as being, looking at it, you know, humanly, okay? I cannot see that they're calling on themselves ISIS or calling on ISIS and stuff and doing the things that they do, the hideous stuff that
Well,
they do.
they don't
and that
call-
could be perceived as anything good.
They don't call themselves ISIS. ISIS was used by, I mean, if you listen to President Obama, it's ISIL. ISIS was
Right, he
picked
changed
up by
it.
the Western media because it's easier.
It's easier.
And it has the impact because people can relate to that ISIS Egyptian, ISIS Middle East. But it's not something to be feared, is what I'm saying. And we're going to see a lot of things crumble. We've seen things happen in the banking industry. And as Angelo was saying, because information can be shared so readily, none of this stuff can be hidden anymore. We all can see what's going on. And the work that you're doing is beautiful. And the work that you're doing is beautiful because you're sharing information so that everyone can become a part of the change and embrace it. So we need to put our fears aside. The fear is not what's going to create the peace. It's the embracing the expansiveness and the healing and the compassion we have for each other all over the world. Even for the people who are doing atrocities, they're still our brothers and sisters, and we need to send them love.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is,
That's
you know,
right.
if you can send love to such a group, you know, and it's a hard one to swallow, and most people cannot do it. I try to do it as much as I can, all right? But in the end, sometimes, you know, I try to stay to my higher self. If I don't do that, all I want to do is do the same thing back to them. You know, so
Well, can I say this is where Mother Mary kind of comes in, because look at the life she led. I mean, look at her son, and she endured. All she gave was love when she was here. And when all this happened, she still has compassion enough to be our mentor spiritually. That's the example we need to have. Again, like you were saying, to embrace this with compassion. It's so hard to do, but there's no other way to dissolve.
there's no other way to do it. I know there's power in loving people and loving, you know, terrible situations. The only problem is that so many people are so caught up in the actions of the world and their five senses and their egos that this is the free will in action more to more to say.
Well, there's people angry too. How many lives were lost? How many families have to
Of
suffer?
course.
This is the other part of it. You know that, spiritually we can say all this about, how to hug it and kiss it and love it, but the families that go through this, that's another level. That's so much harder for them. But again, to Mother Mary, her family went through it.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to make clear to the men in the audience is that you're not going to become a bunch of sissies, okay, by embracing your divine feminine. That's not what this is about. I mean, that's why the masters like Jesus and Buddha were revered, because they were gentle and strong at the same time. I mean, even right now, if you ever see or hear or read about the Dalai Lama, you can sense that and see that right in him. I mean, I look at him and I just see that goodness of soul and the compassion there and the balance, and I just think he's fabulous that way, you know?
For all of us, it's about balancing the masculine and the feminine,
Right.
and healing self, and then others heal from the presence of you having
That's
healed.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just by the vibration, the high vibration, you heal people with your presence. You heal people from the voice and so forth. So it's key to have a high
From the
vibration.
encouragement.
And we need to have the darkness. Not that I embrace atrocity that happens, but this is a reflection of all of us and our collective consciousness. And so if we're going to make change, this is what happens. We see the fear in ourselves, we see the fear in our world, and then we heal it. But
Yes.
Angelo, I don't want to hold up
No, you're not at all.
No.
I want to hear what
I pretty much
Mother
don't
Mary
even have
has
to say it
say.
because we've just said it, you know, but
Yeah.
I'd be glad to read
Yeah,
it.
go ahead. Say what you came up with, and then we'll discuss all that too.
Okay. So this is recently, very quickly said, a few days ago I had her speak and put it down. So she talked about the process of self-discovery. Prayer is partnership with Spirit. Our relationship with Spirit is directly defined by our belief that we are actually engaged in such a relationship. Are you ready to recover this belief? Our society has abandoned the notion that I have experienced a life as a human on earth, one that so few could endure. The story of suffering, sacrifice, abandonment, jealousy, greed, and unprecedented violence was met in the end with grace, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, and love. What greater an inspiration do you need? I, the voice of a beloved spirit, through my own life experience, has transformed myself into a messenger of healing, whose most cherished desire is to empower you with your own self. It is not a question of being worthy. You are all worthy. It is about reawakening our ability to better realize that I am available for you, to pray to come to. So create a moment that is sacred with me. Let's look at the phrase, living in your right mind. Most would think this is when we live our lives governed by the construct that has been built around you. However, when I speak these words, I am referring to the ability to live in a creative part of our brain, the creative mind. This allows the freedom to create the world around you by us, by believing is seeing. And our imagination is then given the freedom to envision in life what we truly desire. So, picture this. Do you see? Miracles are uncovered by your appreciation of the miraculous. You are attracting miracles in your life as you thank life for them. Therefore, saturating your spirit with this. Have you ever noticed that tomorrow never really arrives? That today is always here upon you? In the here and now, miracles are senseless. They are without vision, hearing, tasting, touching, or smelling. They are truly realized by an aspect of you that exists outside your physical senses. This is omnipresent. Divine intelligence continuously growing and expanding. This is in everything and in the no thing. The age of the sacred feminine is here. This is the era. This era is set up to balance the hermetic powers of earth and sky. The age of Pisces, the age of war, has ended, and we are now in the age of Aquarius. The age of the sacred feminine has little to do, believe it or not, with gender, but has everything to do with spiritual partnership of yourself and the world around you. It is time to have them function together, male and female, harmonic partnership. This is, As this happens, so do miracles. This is the path of the flame. This is the way of the mystic.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's Mother Mary for you. You know, I tell you, it's incredible. You know, a lot of time people are skeptical when you channel someone, but I mean, when you channel it so lovely like that, both of you, and I don't see how you can't see that being. I can hear Mother Mary in your voice. I can hear Isis in
I
your
was
voice.
looking at the painting, the picture, whatever,
Yeah.
and
Amazing.
I was seeing the shaded blue. It's moving as you're
Mm-hmm.
reading
Wow,
it.
thank you.
So, you know, you captured something.
Now,
Wow.
that was beautiful, yeah. It's great to get up-to-date messages too, because people think that things, the prophecies from 2,000 years ago, let's say Nostradamus, or even some of the things about Edgar Casey, you know, some of that stuff is outdated because timelines have changed,
Yes.
dimensions have changed, people have changed a wee bit. Now we need to get more
People are a lot more enlightened
yeah,
now.
people are a lot more enlightened now, and they need to be more so, and this show helps along with that, and that's why I call it the spiritual view.
I've watched those documentaries on Nostradamus and stuff, and a lot of the things that were said there, you know, I mean, they try to say that this is close, and I hear the text, and I'm saying to myself, that is not close. That's all I'm getting. It's just that's not close. You know what I mean? Some things, you know, there's going to be. Listen, I could forecast 1,000 years into the future and say something cataclysmic is going to happen, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, but he's not giving specifics. Not to say that he ever did. All right, it's the interpretation by these guys that are ripping this apart and trying to make it current in what's going on.
And yeah,
You know, and when I see that, I said, you know, that's not.
and actually, I think what's happening is because these prophecies have been around for so long that there's a fraction of people, let's just call them the bad guys, that's what I like to name them, and they try to do things to make it happen as though these prophecies are still coming true. So people believe
Well, try to
the
give it
outdated
validity. They're trying to
Right.
get, you know, give it
So that,
validation.
like, it's not outdated stuff, you know, it's outdated, you know. Even I had a friend ask about a dream from 1990, and I said, oh my God, I said, that is so long ago. That's what, 25 years ago, right? I said, timelines have changed, dimensions have changed, everything's changed. You
Some of
really
it's a
can't.
repeat. It was a good dream. It had a repeat.
Unless, of course, you're having the same dream over and over and over and over
And there's a
again because you
message.
haven't gotten the message yet. But you know, so many things have changed. It's the truth. And so I'm sure that both of your clients, Angelo and Ellen, they just love the work that you do. I remember one thing that you said to me. I've never had a reading with you. I'd love to have one just for the fun of it, you know.
Cool.
But I remember one of the things you said to me. I sat down one time when we first became acquainted, and Isis was channeling, and she's right, and then she goes, "Wait a minute, Isis has never said this before." I can't remember. She used to say Isis of death or something, and then she said, what did she say? Isis says of the light and the living or something like that. You probably don't remember.
Well, when you're channeling and stuff like that,
It's hard, you
the next,
forget,
you know.
yeah, but I thought but I remember you saying that. She's never said that before.
So you feel special, huh?
That's right. I
Well,
said, hey, this isn't, you know.
You are special.
Thank you.
It's, and everybody's special,
Of
you know.
course.
The thing is that some people have dedicated their life to this sort of mystic connection, connecting with all there is, the life of a mystic, and you're all those sorts. And when you're doing this and living this lifestyle, the information and the connection that you're going to make is going to be a little bit different. And so for you, you're doing work that's very important.
Oh,
High
yeah.
echelon.
You know, the truth is, you know, I
VIP?
dedicated my life to this. You know, I mean, I just for I don't know, at least going on 2 decades, where the path is the path, and that's what's important. Because you know what, when this body dies, you can't take it with you, but you can take the things.
You don't just hear it now.
What?
I'm hearing because Isis and the God energy
Uh-huh.
predates the creation of this world. Okay. And what they're basically saying to me, because it also predates all religions of the world.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they call us mystics.
Yeah.
maybe they're the mystics, and we're the ones that are spirit.
Oh,
Wow.
God.
You know,
like that.
you know,
Oh, my.
think about that one. You know,
That's-
organized religions will look at us and say poppycock. You know, and that's what they'll say.
Huh. Yeah.
All right. In the meantime, this was here before the earth was even created.
Oh, it's ancient. It's ancient wisdom, ancient thought that's all coming around. The cycle is completing itself, is coming back
You should ask her that one.
around. You
I
know?
would like to know that one.
Well, I've heard too that Spirit considered us royalty in a lot of ways because we're doing the hard work. You know, we have more suffering in those worlds. It's utopia. So we come here to do God's work. You know, to reawaken or heal, learn about spirit.
And this is we, all of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone who's in physical form
Yes.
here on the planet.
Well, everybody is working their way back to God and awakening, and that's what it is, because we come in with the veil, and then our goal is to awaken and then work our way back to the Godhead. And you know, eventually, when you don't reincarnate anymore, you become one with God again. You know, you
Part
get
of the
absorbed into the
conglomerate.
Godhead.
Part of the collective.
Yeah, part of the collective. You know, so I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Should we have some tea?
Shall we have some tea? Yes, because I guess it was Dino some time ago. He said, you should be having tea when you're on. He says, I think when I come on, we have to do tea. and then funny, because as I'm reading Angelo's website, he's talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
He has high
tea. And I
tea.
said,
That's right.
okay,
I
they
saw that.
like this. They like this. It's the idea of, you know, being a little bit more intimate and sharing, well, we're not quite breaking bread on TV, but we're at least drinking tea.
Well, the power of celebration is we need to celebrate our life, every moment of our life, gratitude, celebration. So here's to you, my friends,
Oh, thank you, dear.
and our
Cheers.
friends,
Thank you.
our other friends.
Cheers.
So everybody out in the audience
And there's to you.
and TV audience.
Oh, my. So, you know, I don't know if you know this. I know you know a lot about Mother Mary because you've been talking to her a lot. But do you know that Mother Earth is actually an aspect of Mother Mary?
Certainly.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
She
So-
tells me that.
Okay, it's true. So now you think about this, people. Think about when you throw that trash bag on the ground,
Right.
or throw that, or do something that you shouldn't do to Mother Earth and desecrate Mother Earth. You're desecrating Mother Mary. So think about that, okay? Queen of Heaven, all right?
Yes, we've been asked to lift up the mother. So
Yes.
let's celebrate her and celebrate Mother Earth.
And we really
Beautiful.
need to, because think about this. I mean, if it wasn't for the mother, well, you wouldn't have children, you wouldn't have the men. You know, in some cultures, right? You know, the women are second-class citizens. Well, where did they come from? They came from a
Yeah.
mother.
I came from my mother, but you needed the father.
Right.
Well,
you see
true,
what I'm saying?
true,
But
yeah.
how could the mother then become a second-class citizen, you see?
Right.
So it
Wow,
makes no
that's
sense.
because over, you know, through many, many different cultures, women were subservient to the man.
That's right.
Well,
and that's just the way it was in those
Well,
places.
this-
Still is in many.
this is the whole thing that we need to be getting at. This
Right.
is what has happened. Where is the divine feminine in our life? So why? So what are women? Women are a physical expression of the divine feminine. We are creator. From our womb comes all of life.
Right.
So if you are looking for who is powerful, women are the lower chakras. We are the warrior. We are the protector, the mother lion. We are the creators, the artists.
The
We are the
Amazon.
self-empowered. So what happens with all this power? So if you are going to have a child and you're in a tribal community and you're not having the child of the head of the community, you're having it with the head of the other community.
And we just met, too.
Where's the power go? Where does it shift to, right?
Yes.
So we have to have control of our women to control our power, to control where creation goes. So that's what has happened, and the divine feminine has been pushed down. Mother Earth has been pushed down. Women have been pushed down all over the world for centuries. And so what the age of the divine feminine is is the men lifting up Mother Earth, the women lifting up Mother Earth, us all embracing our personal power as equals, so that when we come together, we're coming together as the god and the goddess. The Kundalini energy comes together and is sacred. Sex becomes sacred. Creation becomes sacred. The planet becomes sacred, and we have peace.
Right.
And
That's really true. That's really true. And everyone should wish for a sacred partnership, a sacred marriage. And it's funny because I remember when my husband and I got married, people were taking bets how long we'd last. And so I was telling somebody this, a psychic, right? And they says they just don't know what a sacred marriage is, And meanwhile, we're together 35 years, so I mean,
Me too.
yeah, it's a long time when you're with someone. You don't see many marriages today last that long, But the one thing is we all do have to respect and honor the mother, because after all, we live on her.
Yes.
Where are we going to go if we destroy the mother?
we're destroying ourselves.
And the divine feminine actually started rising, if you think about it, back when women started to work and got the vote. And then instead of being barefoot and pregnant, so to speak, they were
Burned the
able to go.
bras.
Well, they were able to go
was
out
there.
to
I
the
was in the 60s.
workplace. I know, I was there too.
Okay.
That's giving away our age, though.
39.
Well,
With
I
a
wish.
lot of years experience after that.
I wish.
Got married at 9, eh?
Yeah.
It was
We-
rough.
And then they became able to have their own paychecks. So if they lived with a fella who was abusive to them and their children, they could leave. So they started to claim their own power. But how many years ago was it that they passed the Equal Rights Bill with women supposed to make the same amount of money as men, but still women only still make about 70 cents on the dollar as men. And this all has to change.
And that's $1 only worth about 30 cents. So what's the difference?
Well, no, it's 30% of a difference. And if you're a single parent, that's a big difference.
Of course
So,
it is.
we got to be able to bring up the divine feminine. Yeah. So anyway, so let's see. I just want to see if there's anything else. Have you had visual apparitions of Mother Mary?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see her like you can see me, more or less, in a way.
At one time, yes.
Uh-huh.
One time I had a vision like that.
Yeah,
It
because,
was,
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, it was different too. It was like a projector, but it wasn't. But it was almost holographic.
Holographic,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like not a ghost. It was more defined.
An
you know.
apparition type of thing?
The smell of roses, and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Was
Yeah.
that in the evening? In privacy, so
It was very late at night, in the middle of the night, walking.
Yeah, it's like I don't say I'm seeing things, but when I do see things, it's at nighttime, and I wake up several times in the course of the night, and I just do my little number things there. That I look, and I know that they're with me.
Wow.
So but
It takes a lot of energy for them to manifest physically. So that's how they do manifest a lot as a holograph. And that's how Jesus appeared to me when I was 13 as a holograph.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I said the closest thing I ever saw to that was, you ever seen that movie? I guess it was it Star Wars? Yeah, Star Wars.
Star Trek, when it comes down to the little.
No, I think it was Star Wars, where Princess Leia appeared.
Oh yeah.
And you
Oh,
could
yeah, the
see it was
projected thing, yeah.
like that, and I could see, and I knew it was a holograph, but it kind of
Did you
scared
see
me
it like
because I was
that,
only
Isis?
13.
Wow, I want to know about that.
You haven't
Talk
seen
about that with you.
Physically.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
it was
don't-
very interesting.
I don't see Isis physically. But I do healing work, and so she just sort of takes over. And I've channeled in.
For the temperature rise.
Yes, temperature goes up, and I've channeled in higher vibrational energy that I can then transfer to others, which helps to increase, as I think I said earlier, like your healing, psychic, and creative abilities. But it's really more about helping you to become aware of that vibration, so then you feel it, and it just changes things.
When you're doing that work, when you're doing that healing work, does any of your clients say to you that they've seen it?
They have seen other things, but not necessarily Isis. But I've had clients speak to me about their own experiences with Isis, which are amazing. I had one woman come to me and tell me that her daughter, when she was 5 years old, pretty much died and came back in the hospital. And then the daughter later, when going to college, having to write the essays to get into college, had to write about something that happened that was moving in her life, a big event. And she said that ISIS came to her at 5 years old and brought her back. Because ISIS also helps you to cross over. So it's things like that that people share with me that are very moving. And she speaks and comes and shows herself to lots of people, just as Mary does, in very varied ways. And so this is just that energy reaching out to us and asking us to connect.
Well, we're just about wrapping up, so do you have anything that you'd like to say or Mother Mary would like to say? Because we have about a minute left.
I mean, there's too much to say. I don't know, try to, just the gratitude for the whole thing, it's a beautiful journey. It's kind of painful too, it's sacrificing but it's wonderful, so I look forward to connecting with more people. Hopefully this will reach out and, this has an impact, has an effect, and people realize that this is the age of peace, and then just hang in there, keep praying. Praying works, it heals, and call to Mother Mary, see what happens.
Well, I do want to thank you for coming on. I've loved your message. I love your energy, and you too, Ellen, of course.
Thank you.
We're just about out of time, so
we want crew, and we'd like to thank our crew and our audience guests for coming, and his facilities here at CTV, and our sponsors, Antonio's Pork Store in Tottenville, and Aardvark Pest Control in Great Kills. And very good night to you. Blessings to all.
Good night. See you next time. Bye-bye.